Hello there YouTube, and welcome back to War Thunder, guys. So you will have probably noticed that I haven't uploaded anything in a little over a month, and I will get into that with you guys in just a second. Just want to let you know that the gameplay you're seeing in the background is me grinding for the German M48. I wasn't recording voice at the moment, but I recorded the gameplay because it was just a really good game. It wasn't the biggest game, as you will see as the video progresses, and I have edited it quite a lot because there wasn't so many people. There was a lot of driving around pointlessly until I found someone to shoot, so I kind of snipped that out, so it isn't very long. This was going to be a 22-minute video or slightly longer, and I was like, nah, we've got to edit out some of that travel time. So to the matter at hand, why haven't I been on? Why haven't I been uploading any content? The simple fact of the matter is, I needed to recharge my batteries. I was burning out on the game. Not burning out in the fact that I couldn't get good games or I wasn't having good games. The fact that it was just sort of wearing me out to a certain point. So I started playing War Thunder on the 30th of the 4th, 2014. That's almost 5 years of gameplay. I had a couple of months off before they introduced the mouse. I can't remember what update that was, but when they put the mouse in game, I started playing again, and from then on I've probably only had a few weeks off for holidays and stuff, but it's basically been constant 5 years of me playing War Thunder. And while this is a really good game, the constant grind, the constant gameplay of the same thing, it kind of wears you down, and I needed to have a break from the game. I also find the game to be a little bit repetitive. Don't get me wrong, I do like the game, but it does take its toll on you. In all the time I've been playing this game, it hasn't changed. Now don't get me wrong, don't start spamming the comments whether it has changed, but this has been added, that's been added. I know the graphics have been updated, the sound's been updated, the models have been updated. We've got tanks in since it's first entered the internet and become a free-to-play game. We've got ships, we've got helicopters, ATGMs, rank 6 vehicles. What I mean by the game hasn't changed, I mean the game hasn't evolved in game modes, not at all. I mean, you've got World War mode coming, and I've tested that, but it's not what people expected. It's not what we wanted. We didn't want it to be a Squadron Battles event. We wanted it to be similar to Enduring Confrontations with land, sea and air. That's the vibe I was getting. That's what I was expecting. Something like Enduring Confrontations for RB and Sim, but with tanks, ships and planes. Not the way that they've done it, which is a simplified battle mode like Risk, you know, like the board game Risk. It's a simplified game mode of that. You got your commander sat there constantly plugging away, moving your pieces, moving your tanks, your artillery, your infantry, your planes, and then you eventually get into a battle. It's tedious, boring work for the commander. It's different for the guys that are playing, but there's a lot of sitting around. Also, the game modes that they've introduced, where the new game mode Convoy is really fun, where you've got to protect a convoy from point A to point B. The enemy team have got to attack it. That is what people have been asking for, but for the main game. I can't see people sitting around for hours on end just on the sheer chance they might get that game mode. I think it's really sad. Same with RB in World War mode. They've got a similar layout where you've got to protect transports or bombers, you know, a little bit like Guardian Angels. You know, you've got to protect the bombers or the transport planes, which is a really good way of doing it. But it's the same old. You spawn in, you drive forward, you capture a point, you hopefully get a couple of kills, die, bring out a plane, hopefully do some damage with that, get a bomb kill, maybe shoot down a plane, die, bring out another tank. And although no two games are exactly the same, it's the repetitive nature of driving forward, capping, getting killed, doing it again. doing it again, doing it again, and it kind of just wore me out, to be honest with you. And this game, if it wants to survive, it needs to have a new way of doing things. Now, it's not to say that I'm going to be giving up with the game, because update 1.85 is coming. The Italian tech tree is coming, and I will be grinding my arse off for that. I will do some dev server videos, obviously, like I always do, but something needs to change or this game is going to fail. You know, it's going to fail. We need to have new game modes, not just for World War mode, but for the actual random battles in game, the real meat and potatoes of this game. It needs to change. Now, arcade, you can still stay with the cap circles, that's perfectly acceptable because it's arcade. But realistic and sim in particular, that game mode really needs to change because it's stagnant. You know, a lot of the capture points that are in RB and sim have no strategic value on the map. Carpathians, where you have the cap zone on the castle on that really big hill, that is a strategic cap zone. Whoever controls that hill controls the battlefield, because you can shoot down onto A and B from there. You control the battlefield, you control their spawn zone, you control who comes out of it and who doesn't. But other game modes, like on Eastern Europe, the small Eastern Europe map, none of those capture points are relevant. They serve no tactical purpose anywhere on that map, and things like that need to change. If you're going to have cap zones, they need to be placed in strategic points on the map, high points overlooking other areas on the map, like towns or bridges, possibly even in wooded areas overlooking main highways from the spawn zone to the battlefield to cut off the main supply of enemy tanks. But for sim in my opinion is stagnant now. It's boring, it's meaningless when you got cap zones. I'd like to see more like an IL2 sort of themed battle, kind of similar to Enduring Confrontations, but for tanks, for simulator. So instead of attacking a cap circle that has no strategic value on the battlefield, we go after capturing bridges across the Rhine or something, or an ammunition dump, a fuel dump, a train station, a factory, you know, a town, a hill that gives a particular vantage point over a battlefield. You know, things like that, things that make more sense, that make it more immersive as a game. And this problem with cap circles has continued now with the introduction of naval forces, where you're having destroyers and light cruisers capping points in an ocean. Now, when you're fighting in a naval setting, you're not capturing an ocean. The battle for River Plate wasn't actually a battle for a piece of ocean. It was the Royal Navy attacking a German battleship. You know, the Battle of the Coral Sea. Again, it wasn't for the Coral Sea because it was still used by both forces during the Pacific campaign to move troops and ships. It was just a battle that was fought on the Coral Sea. So capturing a point in what should be a featureless ocean, obviously we don't have the featureless ocean on the game, there's islands and icebergs and shit like that in the way, but capturing a strategic point in an ocean is retarded. I don't understand it. The whole concept of naval warfare isn't to capture a featureless point in an ocean, it is to engage the enemy fleet and decimate it if you can. That is what should be in War Thunder. Now, obviously that's going to be a little bit harder with the smaller patrol boats, excuse me, but you can work around it. They can still have the smaller islands and it can still be just an all-out deathmatch. And when it comes to destroyers and cruisers, and then possibly heavy cruisers and pocket battleships and so on and so forth as the game progresses, you know, the fleets build up, they're more powerful, they're more aggressive opponents and shit like that. But it needs to change. Cap circles, in my opinion, are ruining the gameplay and the immersion of it. So now I'm going to move on to aircraft, in particular Air RB, because that is a game mode that I play. I don't really play AB, I haven't played it in a very long time. Sim I don't usually play because it means having to piss about and switch to the PC and use a flight stick, which I don't mind doing, although I do prefer Air RB. It's just a lot quicker and easier to sort of grind out planes. But that hasn't changed either. In the entire lifespan of War Thunder, Air RB has not changed. The maps have changed, we got new maps, we got new objectives on them maps, but the overall gameplay hasn't changed. Now again, no two games are exactly the same, but the way they start out always is, you take off and you climb like your arse is on fire. The quicker you get to altitude, the better off you are. You got the height advantage over your enemy, which means you can boom and zoom them. The more they turn, the less energy and speed they have, the easier it is for you and your team to kill them. It also gives you the opportunity to take out them bombers early game to stop them from doing any real damage. And a lot of bombers are very, very slow. Even though they start at 12.5 to 14,000 feet, you can still climb up, be above them and intercept them before they get to the bases, which leaves people that use bombers for effective grinding methods absolutely out on the doorstep, you know, with their asses in the wind, because they're not getting to the bases half the time unless they dive, you know, and then you got the possibility of ripping your wings, or you're flying straight into those same people that you're trying to avoid because you're having to dip your nose and meet them at a lower altitude, which gives them even more advantage because you're literally flying straight at them to try and get your bases. The game mode hasn't changed in all this time. Now they do have occasionally enduring confrontations for realistic, and enduring confrontations for sim is running constantly. That is obviously a different way of doing it. The games last around 4 hours or so. You can use multiple planes and get a decent bit of grinding done with different objectives. But what I found with enduring confrontations for RB and sim is attackers don't have a lot to do. There's not that much going on the battlefield half the time. You have to wait a long time sometimes for these ground battles to kick off, and then when you do, everybody swarms on them because it's just easier. The fighters come over because they know there's going to be grand attackers. The grand attackers come over because they know there's going to be grand forces, and the bombers try to sneak around and get the bases really quickly in the airfields while all the fighters are preoccupied. And then the battle ends, and it just goes back to the same furball where you're trying to be sly, skirt round, get away from the enemy, get your ground units or your bases, and it's just 4 hours of hide and seek in planes. And the same problems affect sim enduring confrontation as well. The only real difference there is that you're in a first person view using a flight stick. Now there will be more content coming to the channel when the dev server goes live for update 1.85. Until then, there's not going to be any content at the moment, guys. But I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've enjoyed me updating you and talking about my feelings towards the game. Also hope you've enjoyed the background gameplay. It was a very, very good game. Until next time, guys, I will see you soon and have fun.